how to connect Excel in Alteryx, or how to import an Excel file into Alteryx. So suppose I have a file which is present in one of the folder on my desktop, which is e-sales file. I want to import this file. So in order to import this file, what I have to do, I have to just go to in and out option. Here you will have to drag and drop this input data option to your workflow panel, which is this. Now it will give you a pop-up that to connect a file or database. Now I want to connect an Excel file, so I will hit this arrow key. It will give you some options. Go to file, click select file. Now from here I will select e-sales file which I want to import. Click open. Now it will again give you a pop-up window and it will ask you about the sheet which you want to import. So right now I want to import the sales sheet. You can also select the range if you want to select the sample data from this particular file, but right now I want to use all the rows and columns. Click OK and it will give you the configuration setting here, which will tell you the path of the file, name of the file, record limit. If you want to record, say if you want to limit the records to say 100, you can specify the number here. File format will be Excel, right? Table query. So what is the name of the sheet, which is sales? Here you can search for subdirectories. Now if you want the name of the file or the name of the path of the file as one of the column, you can choose option from here, from this drop down. First row contains data. So if your first row contains data, then there is no need to check this button. If it consists of data, right? So you have to check this option. So by data I mean the numbers presented, not the column headers. So generally in Excel file, the first row consists of the column headers. So right now I'm not checking this out because the first row consists of the column headers. Start importing data on line 1. So here you can specify the line. So suppose you want to import the data from line 5. So here you can write 5. So again this preview panel will give you a preview of first 100 records, rows and columns which are present in this particular file. And the next thing is to just go and hit this run button to run the workflow. It will start importing the Excel file from the path. It will present a pop-up window which will give you the time it has taken to import the file. So it is saying that finished running in 2.5 seconds. Hit OK. So this is how to import this Excel file. We will tell you about how to connect this file to different functionalities, like suppose you want to do correlation analysis, or suppose you want to move this Excel file to a database and so on. Use the regex function and extract elements from a column of a say data frame, right? Let me quickly show you how to uh, show you the data set which I am using. So I am using a data set which consists of item, right? And there is a text written in this particular item column. So first 2 digit is your item ID, second is the item color, and third is the item city, right? So I want to extract this particular column and create 3 columns, one consisting of item ID, one consisting of item color, and third consisting of item city, right? So in order to do that, I will go to parse tab, go to the regex, drag it and drop it onto a canvas and link it to your input dataset. It will open a pop-up window where it asks you about the configuration settings. First, it will ask you about the column name. So if there are multiple columns, it will show this in this particular drop down. So right now it's item. right? I don't want it to be case insensitive. I want it to case sensitive. So I am just unchecking this particular checkbox. From here, you can first you have to choose the brackets which will separate one column from other column. So for that there is option or function called mark group, which is basically curly braces, right? So this will separate your columns, right? So after this, if you go to this particular data set, see the first two digit are column, then there is a white space, then there is a word, then there is white space, and then again there is a word. Okay, so let's go back to the configuration panel. Just click here, this plus button. So first two digits are, first two elements are digits. So go here, select digit two times because there are two, right? After this, you know that there is a white space. So from here you can select S, one white space, right? After this, again, in order to separate this particular column into three columns, you have to again choose the brackets, which is mark group. So this will create a second column, and inside this there are colors, right? Red, green, and so on. That is basically a word. From here you can select the entire word. Once that color is done, then there is again a white space. So instead of selecting it again from the plus button, you can just write slash s for white space, and in bracket again the last is your city, right? So you can just select this word from this particular part and paste it here. This makes a regular expression, right? So now go to the output method. So in output method it will show you what you want to do. I want to parse it, right? Now in the output columns it will give you some options to change the names. First I want it to be say ID, second I want it to be color, and third I want it to be city, right? From here you can select the variable type. So for id is integer, right? So you can select integer from here. Rest two are strings, so you can select from here string. Instead of v string you can keep v string as well here. So select string. Once this is done, hit this run button. It will create three columns, right? One is color and one is city. What we have done in first particular column, there are two digits, so I have used slash d, then there is space, then there is a word, then there is a white space, then again there is a word. So this will extract your item column into three different columns: id, color, and city. Welcome back. In this video we will learn how to perform sample t-test or how to do t-test for means. In order to do t-test for two independent sample, what you can do is first you have to import the file, right? Right now it's present in CSV file, so I will go to in and out. I will drag and drop the input data onto my console or workflow panel. Then I will just import the file using the file option, right? Go to select, then I will use test for means file. This file which I will be using for this particular video. Okay, and this will import the file. It consists of two variables. One is years of teaching, and other is average income. Now we want to find out how does year of teaching uh, have an impact on average income, or is the average income for say years of teaching greater than 10 and less than equal to 10 are different or not? So this is our hypothesis that whether the mean of average income is, or you can say income, is same for any year greater than 10 or year less than equal to 10, right? I will just go to for in order to do the t-test or test for mean. First, we have to create a group variable which will be based on if and else condition for this particular exercise. So I will go to transform. I will go to preparation, drag and drop this formula here. Now we have to write a formula which will create the group variable, right? It will open a panel window. Here you can select the name of the variable which you want to create. Let's click on add column. Let's name it as years of teaching group, right? And now here we have to write the if else condition. If years of teaching is less than equal to 10, then 0, else 1, and okay. Now here you can select the data type. I will select the integer, 5, size 4, right? Now you have to go to the predictive tab from the above, right? From here you can just choose the test for means, drag it and drop it to your canvas. Make sure it is linked to your filter or the formula bar, right? Now it will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about the response variable. So response here is income, and your group identifier is the years of teaching, right? Now, in order to get the output in the output window, go to in and out, select your cross tool, and just drag it and drop it to D. Also drag it and drop it to the R panel of the test for me option. Now just hit run button. It will take around 30 to 40 seconds to produce the output. Let's wait for it. Has been done. So as you can see, if you just click on this browse tool, you will see there's two group 1 and group 2. Group 1 consists of 1 and group 2 consists of 0. Your t-test is minus 1.11, degrees of freedom is 10, your p-value is 0.29, right? So since p-value is more than 0.05, you will accept the null hypothesis. Hence, there is no difference between mean of two groups. Similarly, you can go to this props tool. This will more give you the same output, but in a more representable format, in a tabular format. See, I hope you are able to understood this. You will learn how to use a join tool in Alteryx, right? So, in order to start the lecture, I will tell you what is the functionality behind the join tool. Suppose you want to join two tables, table 1 consisting of employee ID and their salary, and second table consists of employee ID and their manager name. Now you want to combine these two tables into one table consisting of, say, employee ID, employee salary, and their manager name, right? So that's the purpose of using a join tool. So just to give you a brief about the datasets which I am using right now for this video, is that first dataset is your store transaction. So it consists of purchase date, order amount, right, customer ID, store city, and store region. And second data is regarding the customer club card membership, right? So this consists of customer ID, customer name, phone number, and so on, right? So now I want to join these two tools in order to these two files. Now, in order to join these two files, there's an option under join is again join sub option. You can just drag and drop this in your tool container, and as you can see that there are two input options. One is L, one is R. So R stands for right, L stands for left. And then there are three output options. One is L, L stands for left, J stands for inner join or J is join, and R stands for right join, right? So once you connect these two inputs to your join tool, it will give you different option. One is join by record position. Join by record position will join the two dataset on the basis of their row index. For example, row 1 of table 1 will be joined with row 1 of table 2, row 2 of table 1, again row 2 of table 2, and so on, right? But right now we want to join it by specific field which is common in both the dataset, which is customer ID in left table, this one, and your ID, which is also customer ID, but it is named as ID in the customer club card membership data. So this is the ID on which I want to join this table. Here you can see that it is giving you three options. One is left join. So left join will consist of all the records which are present in left table but not in right table. Join is a common of right all the records which are present in right as well as left table. Right R option will give you all the records which are present in right table but not in left table, right? Again here it will give you multiple option to choose what all columns do you want in your final data set. Suppose I want here your purchase date, order number, customer ID. These columns are present in your left table and these columns are present in a right table, but I know that there might be a duplication of columns. For example, customer ID in left table and right an ID in right table, so I can uncheck this, right? Rest other columns are unique. You can also uncheck this uncommon one are unique, and then you can just hit this run button. It will run the workflow and it will store the output to options. So this has taken 2.1 second to run the workflow. So as you can see that left option will give you all the records which are present in left table but not in right table. So this does not consist of the common records, right? Your join option will give you all the records which are present in right as well as left table, the common ones, and it will consist of all the columns which are present in right as well as left table. Right will give you all those records which are present in right table but not in left table, right? So these IDs are not present in your left table, so that has not been joined. So you can see that this particular option consists of only those columns which are present in right table and not in the left table. Also, it consists of all the records, all the rows which are not common or which are not present in left table. In this video, we will learn how to create a histogram for a particular variable in Alteryx in order to understand the distribution of that particular variable, right? So, for illustrative purpose, I am using a dataset of property pricing. There are four variables present in this property: price, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and square feet area of that particular flat. Now, in order to create a histogram, go to Data Investigation tab. From here, pick histogram, drag it and drop it onto your canvas. Make sure it is linked to your input dataset. And it will open a configuration panel where it will ask you about the field to create a histogram. So, say right now I'm choosing a price. Do you want to manually set the breaks like bins? Do you want a smooth density curve at the top of histogram? Yes, I do want. Just check it. Graph options. What is the size of this particular histogram? Let it be 3.5 inches and 3.5 in height as well. You can select the graphical resolution and so on. Once this is done, just hit run button. Again, there is one problem. For in order to show the chart, you need the browse tool, right? So go to your favorites or your in and out, drag it the browse tool and drop it onto your canvas and link it to the histogram tool, right? And then hit press run button. It will run your workflow and will produce the histogram chart which you can access through browse tool. It's 31% done. To run this particular workflow, and this is how a histogram looks like, right? So it has created a histogram and there is a density plot, this line, red line, right? So it looks like a normal curve, right? Almost a normal curve, not exactly, right? So you can again go back and choose histogram for other variables present in your dataset, like number of beds, number of bathrooms, square feet, and so on. I hope you are able to understand. This video we will learn how to find out the descriptive summary or descriptive statistics of all the variables present in your dataset, right? So let me quickly show you the dataset which I am using. I am using the property pricing dataset. So there are four variables. One is property price, one is number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and square feet of that particular property, or you can say flat, right? So in order to do the descriptive statistics or field summary, so in Alteryx it's called field summary. So go to data investigation, select field summary from here, drag it and drop it onto your canvas. Make sure it is linked to your input dataset. It will ask you about several configurations, like do you want to produce the summary for all the variables? Yes, I want to do it for all the variables. Sample input from here you can select. Right now I don't want to do any sampling. Now what you can do is that you can just hit run button. It will run your workflow and will produce descriptive statistics in a result viewer. This will give you n number of descriptive statistics for each variable in a tabular format. You can take 9 seconds to run the workflow. So from here we can go. The variable is bar, it's numeric in category, right? Minimum is 1, maximum is 4.75, your median is 2, standard deviation is this, number of missing values, percentage of missing values, there is no Missing values, unique values are 10, mean is 2.33, right? And so on. It will give you a number of other parameters or other statistics depending upon the type of data you are using, right? I hope you are able to understood how to calculate the descriptive statistics like mean, median, max, standard deviation, and so on. How to convert text to multiple columns. In order to convert a text into multiple columns, there is a necessary condition that the column should consist of, or the text should consist of, a delimiter. So that by delimiter I mean there should be a separator present in the text to separate it into two or more than two columns. So the delimiter or separator can be space, underscore, hyphen, at the rate, and so on. So for example, suppose there is a store column, and in a store there is which is a unique identifier for a particular store, say Big Bazaar one, and that is a concatenation of store ID and store name. So for say store ID is 123 and your store name is Big Bazaar one, and there is a underscore between store ID and store name. So the column first entry of that column would be 123 underscore Big Bazaar 1. So here the delimiter is underscore. So let me quickly show you which file I am using. So I am using the file which consists of sample data. So your record ID is the unique identifier for row, and item consists of three attributes. One is your item ID, which is 12. Then there is a delimiter space, then item color, which is red, then there is a delimiter, which is space, and then there is a location or the city, which is Mumbai. So now I want to split this item column into three different columns, one consisting of item ID, one consisting of item color, and the third consisting of item city or item place. So in order to do that, go to parts tab, drag and drop this text to column on your canvas. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you which column do you want to split. So here we want to split the item column. Just select it from the drop down. What is your delimiter? So delimiter here is space. So for a space, there is slash s for white spaces as the delimiter. Number of column you want to split. So here I want to split it into three columns, one consisting of item ID, one consisting of item color, and one consisting of item place or city. Then extra character, suppose instead of three attributes, that item column have four attributes, so what to do about the fourth attribute, right? So I am giving it an option that leave the extra one in the last column. You can also choose other options like drop extra with warning, drop extra without warning, or throw an error. What should be the name of the output columns? So here I will change the name to product, or say item attributes, item underscore attributes. So it will attribute, so it will create three columns with name item attribute 1, item attribute 2, item attribute 3. Here are other options which you can explore, and these are the advanced options. So right now I'm just clicking on the run button, and it has second to run this workflow. If you closely see the output, so first column is your record ID, second column is item which was present in the input file. Then it has created three more columns. One is item attribute 1 consisting of the item ID, second consisting of item attribute 2 consisting of item color, third consisting of item third is item attribute 3 consisting of the city or the place. You will learn how to use the record ID tool. So record ID tool is generally used to generate row number in your data set. So let me just quickly show you the dataset which I am using. I am again using the eSales dataset which I have used in the set of previous videos. This consists of 5 columns: date, sales rep, customer, product code, and sales. And it consists of 30 records, right? Now I want to generate a unique, row or unique identifier for each row. In order to do that, go to the preparation tab, select the record ID tool, drag it and drop it onto your canvas. It will link the input node of this particular tool with the input data set, and then it will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about the name which you want to keep for that new column. Let it be row number. Here you can specify the starting value. It can start from negative number also, -5, -8, but let's keep 1 for this particular case. Here you can select the type of variable. Right now it's integer 32, and from here you can select the position, whether you want this particular row number column as a first column or last column. Right now I want to keep it as a first column. Just hit the run button. Right, so it has created one column consisting of 30 records, and uh, the name of the column is row number. So a unique identifier for each row has been created. Right, you must be wondering why we have created this unique identifier for each row number. But because we already have record here, right, which is also 1 2 3 4 5 till 30, and this is right now same as the row number. So the main purpose of record ID is to create a unique identifier for each row. Whenever you do a sampling or use the unique tool, this record column is automatically updated as per the final data set, right? Let me just quickly use the sample tool here and show you the differences in the output. So in sample tool, it will open a pop-up window. Let's keep 1 in every n row. For sampling tool, you can check my sampling video, and I'm here keeping you know 5. So I want 6 record, 1 record from every 5 rows, and so on, right? So when I hit this run button, you will see the difference between record and row number column. Let me just open the output. So as you can see that this record is updated as per the requirement of the or the number of rows as per the output column, output data set, whereas row number remains static to the row ID which was generated using the record ID tool. As you can see, it has picked first column from the first 5, sixth column from the 6th to 10th column, 11th column from 11 to 15, and so on. I hope you got the logic behind this. How to use or create scatter plot in Alteryx. Scatter plot is generally used to understand the relationship between two variables. So let me quickly show you the dataset which I am using. So I'm using a dataset which consists of 3 variables. So actually 2 variables. One is your year. So here is not a variable for the analysis. 2 variables. One is actual. Actual stands for actual contribution raised for a particular campaign. So this is the number of dollar amount raised by 23,078 employees of a company in year 1988, and so on, right? So I want to understand what is the relationship between these 2 variables. So in order to do that, I have to use a scatter plot, right? If I want to do it graphically, otherwise I can use correlation analysis as well. So for correlation analysis, you can go to how to perform correlation analysis in Alteryx, right? So there is a video already available for that. So just drag and drop this Scatterplot tool onto your canvas. Make sure it is linked to your input dataset. It will open a configuration panel where it will ask you about what is your horizontal, what is your X variable. So here you can choose number of employees, what's your Y variable, vertical axis, say actual contribution. So yeah, for here, yeah, here you can also select whether it's binary or not. Plot element, you can choose whether you want a smooth line or not. I don't want it. I don't want marginal blocks, box plot, and so on. Go to style option. Here you can assign the name of X and Y labels and other, aesthetics of this particular chart. Graphical option, you can determine the size of this particular plot. Let it be 3.5 inches in both height and length or breadth, right? You can choose the centimeters from here, choose the resolution of graph, and so on. Once you hit this run button, it will run this particular workflow. But here the catch is that you have to, you know use the browse tool, because here you are producing a chart. So in order to use the browse tool, go to your in and out tab, or if it is present in your favorite tab, just drag it and drop it onto your canvas, and make sure it is linked to the output of scatter plot. Now again hit run button. It will take a few seconds to run this particular workflow. 62% complete. 2 seconds, right? So this is your scatter plot. The actual variable is on your y-axis, employees on your x-axis. These points are the scatter points, and this is the line of best fit for this particular chart. So this shows that there is a linear and positive relationship between actual contribution and number of employees present in that company. I hope you are able to follow this. How to use the random percentage tool. So random percentage tool is generally used to filter out certain random observation from your dataset, or certain percentage of observation from your dataset randomly. So let me quickly show you the dataset which I am using. So I am using the ECL's dataset, which consists of several columns like date, sales rep, customer, product code, sales, and there are 30 records present in this particular file. Now in order to use the random percentage tool, go to the preparation tab. From here, pick the random percentage tool, drag it and drop it onto a canvas, and link the input node of this random percentage tool with your input dataset. Once you do that, it will ask you about the whether you want to select n records, or whether you want to select the n% of records. So let's see both one by one. So number of records which you want randomly as an output, say out of 30 I want 10, right? And once I click run button, it will run the workflow, pick the 10 records randomly from the 30 records present in the input file. So you can see it has displayed 10 records, and these 10 records are random, not the top or the bottom records, right? Similarly, go to the random n% of record. So right now there are 30 records present in my input file. I want 40% of my records to be present in the final output. Just hit run button again, and then it will fetch 40% of the records. Right, so as you can see, there are 12 records which are randomly selected from the record of from 30 records from the input file, right? And here also you can choose the deterministic seed, like so basically seed is used to you know create a process in which the algorithm runs to in order to fetch the random observations from the data set. Suppose I keep 1 2 3 and hit run button, and whenever I next time pick this seed 1 2 3, it will give me the same records. So if you can see, these are the records. If I again hit run button, it will fetch me the same records which it has provided in the previous run. Whereas if I uncheck this and press the run button again, it will randomly pick different set of records in different runs. Right? If you can carefully observe, earlier first record was Prakash, second record was Prakash, whereas in the second run it was John and Prakash. How to use the autofill tool? The fill tool is generally used to optimize the column length and column type. Sometimes what happens is that when you import data from Excel CSV file or from a database to Alteryx, it does not provide the optimal variable length as well as variable type. So in order to do that, to find out the optimal variable length and optimal variable type, you select the or you use the autofill tool. So right now, let me show you the file which I'm using. I'm using a sales file. This consists of 5 columns, right? Date, sales rep, customer, product code, and sales. So this date is a date type. Sales rep, customer, and product are variable string, right? And sales is double. But if you can carefully see that the length of variable strings 255, which is very huge, and this is not required, right? Because name of a sales rep and name of customer or product code won't be such long. So in order to optimize the variable length as well as variable size, what you can do is you can use the autofill tool. Go to the preparation tab, select autofill tool, drag and drop it to your canvas, right? So the first step in this is that I have imported this particular file, right, from my desktop. Then there were some duplicates present in this file. I have removed the duplicates, right? So if you can see that in okay, so there are two tabs, unique and duplicates. I will show you the output once this is done. So once you select the autofill tool, it will open a pop-up window, and then it will show you the name of the columns which you can optimize. Once you hit run, it will run the workflow, and if you go to the output of this autofill tool, you can see that the variable sales rep has been converted to string instead of v string now, and the size is 7. Customer is v string only, but size has been reduced to 19 instead of 255. Product code is again converted to string instead of v string, and the size is 4, right? So this was the variable present in this particular file. If I go to the data, this file consists of 49 records, out of which 30 were unique and 20 were duplicates. So I've removed the duplicates record from this particular file. So in order to see how the unique tool works, you can watch my video on unique tool, and then using the output of this unique tool, the unique records, I have connected this with the autofill tool in order to understand the or in order to optimize the variable length as well as variable type. We will learn how to perform a correlation analysis in Alteryx. So correlation analysis is generally used to find out the degree and the direction of linear relationship between two variables. So right now I'm using a dataset of property pricing. So dataset consists of four variables. One is the price of property, number of beds for that particular property, number of by beds I mean number of bedrooms, bath means number of bathrooms, and square feet is the square feet area of that particular flat. How these three variables, beds, bath, and square feet, determine price, right? But right now, since here it is limited to correlation analysis, we just understand how these variables are correlated with each other. Go to this data investigation tab. From here, select Pearson correlation, drag it and drop it onto your canvas. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about all the variables which you want to use for correlation analysis. So right now I want to use all the four variables. From here you can change whether you want to calculate correlation or covariance, so on. Just hit run button. It will show you the correlation matrix where you will find correlation between the two set of variables. For example, for price and beds it's 0.67, for beds and say bathrooms it's 0.73 per square feet, and beds is 0.72. So this will give you 4 by 4 correlation matrix, right? From where you can find out what is the correlation between any two set of variables. How to use the report text tool. So report text tool is basically used to give headings or title to the tables or charts which you create in Alteryx. For example, if you go to my basic table video, you will understand like how to create basic tables in Alteryx and how to highlight certain rows. So if you see this particular table, so here the record has been created. So there are 5 companies A, B, C, D, E, and the record has been created as per the company name. So here one corresponds to this particular table, which is company A, two corresponds to the second table, which is company B, and now I want to add heading to this particular table by company wise. So in order to do that, we will use report text tool, right? So just go to the reporting tab, drag this report text tool and drop it onto a canvas and link to the basic table tool, right? It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about how to create new field for this text. Do you want it as in another column, or do you want it as an existing field? So I want it as an existing field. Existing field name is a table, right? And now you want the position. What is the position? Place text above the object, below the object, left or right. I want it above the object because I want it as a title, right? And here in the text data you have to write the name of the table. So I am basically writing it as a sales greater than 25k, because I have highlighted those columns where sales is greater than 25k. Now, in order to use the company name as well by table, you can basically go to this available field drop down, select company, click here. You will get a a back bracket like this, where it will split your table in company wise and will give you the heading of different table by company wise A, B, C, D and E, right? Just go and run this workflow and let's see what is the output. If I go to the browse tool, and please do remember, in reporting tool it is necessary to add the browse tool after the final reporting tool in order to view the table. So if you can see here that it has added sales greater than 25K for company A, for company B, company C, company D, and so on, company E. But the error here is right now is that there is no space, right? So how to figure out that? Okay, go back to the reporting tool again. Go here, give it a column, write company, and then space. Hit again run button. Go to the browse tool and now see. Here sales greater than 25K, company A, company B, company C, company D, company E. Similarly, you can add these column headers uh, below or above the chart, right or left of the table, and so on. I hope you have understood this video. You will learn how to use the sort tool or how to sort your data in a particular order. Let me quickly show you the data set which I am using. I'm using a transaction level data which consists of date, sales representative, customer name, product code, and sales amount. Now, in order to sort this data in a particular order, for example, I want to sort this data by sales rep and customer name in an ascending order. So you go to the preparation tab. From preparation tab, just scroll it right, select the sort tool, drag and drop this onto your canvas, and link the input dataset or the input to the input node of the sort tool. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about the column which you want to sort. First column is sales rep. I want to sort it in ascending order. You can choose descending also. Second, after sales rep, sorted by customer name. Again, here you will have two options, ascending or descending. Right now I'm choosing ascending. Just go and hit run button. It will run the workflow and will give you an output in the result panel. In the result panel, as you can see, that it has done a sorting by sales rep and customer name. For example, just see the second to fourth row. Second row, your sales rep is Jerry, your customer name is Amazon.com, right? And then again Jerry, Costco, then again Jerry, Costco, because here you have two different product codes, right? If you come to Luke you have Google as a customer. Product code is TTM. Luke, again Google, but the product code is BCD. You can also, choose product code as one of the option. Let me quickly do it. Again, product code, arrange in ascending order. Hit run, and now it will sort it by three groups: sales rep, customer. sales rep, customer, and product code. Learn how to use filter tool. Filter tool is basically used to filter your data set on certain conditions. It can be one condition and that can be a group of conditions, right? So in order to use the filter tool, go to the preparation tab. From here, select the filter tool, drag and drop it onto a canvas. Make sure it is linked to the input dataset. Let me show you quickly first the input dataset which I am using. I am using the store transaction dataset, which consists of several columns like purchase date, order ID, customer ID, store city, store region, sales amount, and units. Right. On the basis of this, I want to filter out certain records based on some conditions. So once you click on this filter tool, it will open a configuration panel where it will ask you about the filter option. So one can be a basic filter, which is say your store sales amount, right, is greater than equal to 15,000. So right now this dataset input dataset consists of 100 records. Let's see once we run this workflow, what is the number of record left meeting this condition. So if you go to the true option, true means the condition has been met, right? So this consists of 51 records, and false means the sales amount is less than 15,000, right? So it consists of 49 records. So in all, there are 100 records, 49 are present in false, where the condition is not met. 51 is present in the true, where the condition is met, right? You can also go to custom filter, right, and choose and add other filters in this particular filter as well. For example, if you want to select all those records where the sales amount is greater than 15, it's greater than 1500, 15,000, or your store city is say equal to say Bowling Green, is Bowling Green, right? So make sure the string should be in double quotes, right? And make sure you follow this or and condition. If suppose you want an and greater than this and city is equal to Bowling Green, then you have to write here and, right? Once you hit this run button, filter out the record based on the above two conditions. Let me just go to true. Right, there are 51 records in true, 49 in false. Okay, let me just, because it is an or condition, let me just quickly change it to and. Okay, and then run the workflow. So it will only come to record where both the condition are met, right? Where sales amount is greater than 15,000 as well as city name is Bowling Greens. Let me just go to the true tab. So true, there is only one record where this both condition are met, whereas in false you will see 99 records. I hope you have understood this concept. How to add tool container on your Alteryx workflow. What you need to do, go to documentation tab. In the documentation tab, you will find tool container. Just drag and drop it on your canvas. Right now, move the part of workflow or the workflow which you want to add to this container. Just drag and drop it here. It will expand and contract on the basis of where you place the you know uh, your elements, right, which is say import part and say browse part or browse tool, right? So this container will give you different option. First to write the name of the container. So what does this container consist of? For example, it consists of import sales file, right? From here you can change the color text of this workflow. For example, changing the text color to say red. Okay, and similarly you can make changes, right? Now you can also disable a particular container by clicking here, right? So right now I don't want to disable, by disable means don't want to run this container to run, right? Once you hit run, it will make the changes. Right now it has made the changes, right? Like your container is placed, heading of the container is red, and your this particular workflow is now done, right? So what you can do for tool container is that you can minimize and expand this tool container and according to your need. So suppose you want to minimize this, you have to just press this arrow and you can then just drag it here, here, or anywhere in your, you know, workflow or your canvas, right? So the main purpose of tool container is to separate out a part, say part one of your entire workflow from the other parts. So suppose you are working on a say statistical modeling project, right? So in that say you have four different parts. One is your data preparation, second is your exploratory data analysis, third is your statistical modeling, and fourth is your post modeling. Now for each part you want a separate tool container, right? So you can place four tool container for four parts. And suppose sometimes you do not want to run the say data preparation part and just want to go to EDA, exploratory data analysis, statistical modeling, post modeling, right? What you can do is you can disable the tool container and it won't run that part for the workflow. That's all for this video. We will cover the tool container more in the next set of videos where we will have a big Alteryx workflow and that will give you more hint about the working of this tool container. On how to use the running total tool in Alteryx or how to calculate the cumulative sum. Let me quickly show you the file which I am using right now for this particular example. So the file consists of 9 entries, right? So in record column you have A, B, C, which are strings, and there are three groups, right? Three is repeated, A is repeated three times, B three times, and C three times. In the second column you have values against each record, right? So now in order to calculate the cumulative sum of these entries by each group, so here we have three groups A, B, C. You can use the running total tool from the transform tab. Just drag it and drop it on your canvas. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about the group by option, which is optional. This only use this when you want to group or to calculate the running total by some ID or a group variable. In our case, like ABC at ABC level. So here we have to choose the group or the string or the ID at which you want to group or calculate the cumulative sum or running total. So in our case, it's record. So I'm just checking this out, right? And then the second window, we have to select the variable for which we want to calculate the running total. So right now we have a variable called value, which consists of the numbers. Just check this and go to the run tab, hit run. It will run your workflow and it will give you an output in the result panel. So if you carefully observe in the result panel, now there are three columns. One is record, right? Second is value, third is your running total. And if you can see carefully that A is first three entries is for A, value is 10, 5, 10, and your running total is 10, which is this. Second is 15, which is a sum of first two. Third is 25, which is a sum of first three. Now, when you move to B group, again this value is reset. So in B group, for first entry you have 12. For second entry, you have 24, which is a sum of 12 plus 12. And the third entry you have 26, which is a sum of first three entries of B record, which is 12, 12, and 2. And similarly for C, right? Just in case you want to calculate the runnings total without a group by option, you can just uncheck this button and again click run again. But please be very careful while using this option because it will not take into account the grouping. So if you can see that in the running total column, the first entry is 10, second entry is 22, which is a sum of first two, 10 plus 12. Third entry is 26, which is a sum of first three, 10 plus 12 plus 4, right? So please be very careful while using the running total accumulative sum tool. If you have, data at a group level, right? So this will not give a correct answer. So this will also depend upon the problem statement which you are trying to solve. How to use the Crosstab tool. So Crosstab tool is just the opposite of the Transpose tool, where in the Transpose tool we convert the a wider data into a longer data set, whereas in the Crosstab tool we convert a longer data into a wider data set. So let me quickly show you the file which I am using. So I'm using a file which consists of 4 columns. First column is your store location, which is Dublin. Second column is department, audio and hi-fi. And third column is month, name of the months. Fourth column is the monthly revenue for this, department, store, and month combination, right? So in order to transform the data using a Crosstab tool into a wider format, just drag and drop this Crosstab tool onto your canvas. Link this input data to your Crosstab tool input node. It will then open a pop-up window where it will ask you for several inputs. The first is about how to group data. So what is the level at which you want the final data? What are the different IDs at which you want the final data? So final data, I want it at a store location and department level. Just check these columns. Then the second option is change column headers. So what is the name of your column which you want to transpose from a single column to say multiple columns? So here I will choose month, right? Because I want to change this month column into a wider format, each column consisting of each month. So for example, this one column will be transposed into 12 columns. First column will be your month Jan, second last column will be your December month, right? For the value which you want to fill into these 12 columns, Jan to December, So you have to select the value, which is the revenue. Then the fourth option is method of aggregating. How do you want to aggregate this data? Do you want to take sum, average, count, percent, etc.? So you can play with these options. Right now I will click on sum and just click run button. It will run your workflow, and then it will, in the result window. So this is how your data has been transposed from a longer format to a wider format. So first column is store location, second column is your department, and from third column till the last you have name of the months, and the value present inside these columns is the value of monthly revenue. So you can arrange these columns using the select tool, which we will cover in another set of videos on how to use sample tools. Sample tool is generally used to do sampling from your input data set. So there are certain options available in order to choose your sample, or in order to do this sampling, which we will go one by one. So let me just show you the dataset which I am using. I'm using an e-sales dataset. This dataset I have also used in a couple of previous videos as well. So this consists of columns like date, sales rep, customer, product code, and sales, and it consists of 30 records, right? So in order to use a sampling tool or sample tool, just go to the preparation tab. From here, select sample, drag and drop it onto your canvas. It will open a pop-up window or the configuration panel. Right, and it will give you certain options to select the type of sampling you want to do. Do you want to select the first n rows? Here you can specify the number. For example, out of 30 I want to see the or about want the output of 10 records only, right? First 10 records. So you can just put 10 here and hit run button. It will run the workflow and give you first 10 records, right? As you can see. Similarly, you can also fetch last 10 records. So again, you have to mention here the records, number of records that you want to fetch. So let's keep it 12 and hit the run button. We'll again run the workflow and fetch the last 12 records from your dataset. See, there are 12 records displayed in this particular result panel. Next is skip first n rows. So this will basically skip the n rows. For example, if you specify here, say 5, then it will skip the first 5 records, and then it will give you output from 6th record till the 30th record. Let's just see the output. Right, as you can see, there are 25 records present in the output or the result panel. The next is one in every n row. So here you can specify uh, one in every n row. For example, suppose out of 30 records you want one record from every 5 record, right? So at the end you want 6 record from the 5, but so that one, but every one record should be selected from the list of 5 records, like 5 records, right? So let's just see how is the output for this particular one. As you can see, there are 6 records, right? So these are chosen one record from every 5 records, right? And from second record from 6th to 10th record. third record, from 11 to 15 record, and so on. Next is 1 in n chance to include each row. So this will randomly pick, numbers. So whenever you hit run button, it will randomly pick the 5 records. So it will randomly pick the records, right? And the number will keep on changing. So right now it's 6. Next time you run, it will pick 5, and the next time you run, it will pick something else. Right now, right? So it will randomly pick, 1 in n chance from the data set. Next is the n percentage of records. Here you can specify the percentage of record which you want. Suppose I want 10% of record. Just write 10 here. Hit the run button, and it will pick the 10% of the record, which is 3 right now out of 30. How to use the imputation? Really, imputation is used to replace missing values or null values with mean, median, maximum, minimum, or a user-defined input, and there are a number of ways to do it. Let me quickly show you the dataset which I am using. I'm using the e-sales data, which consists of date, sales rep, customer, product code, and sales amount. If you carefully observe, there are some null values present in this particular dataset, and now I want to replace these null values with some number. So in order to do that, go to the preparation tab. From preparation tab, select the imputation tool, drag and drop it to your canvas, link this tool to your dataset. Right? It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you certain questions. So first is that the field to compute. What is the field you want to compute? So by default, it will pick up the numeric numbers, right? Numeric column. So right now in our data set is sales. So this is checked. Now, second thing is that incoming values to replace. How will you replace then? Which value do you want to replace? Is it a null value? Is it a user defined value? Right? When you click here user defined, you can input some user defined number. But right now we want to replace the null values. Replace the value with. Now, next argument is how do you want to replace this null values? Do you want to replace it with average, median, mode, or a user defined number? So I will choose here average. Now there are two more options, right, which I will tell you later on. So let me just run this and show you how it will do the imputation. The workflow has taken around 1 minute 6 seconds, and if you carefully observe that the sales number, the null numbers has been replaced by the average value, which is 265, right? If you want to replace it with median, just click here median and replace it with and click run. It will replace it with the median value. The number has been changed to 202, right? Similarly, you can choose other options like mode, user defined values, etc. Next, I will tell you how to create another column or how to generate a flag, a binary flag, to understand which were the entries which were replaced by the average or median values, or which were the null entries and which were the non-null entries. So in order to do that, just click here include imputed values indicator field, right? Once you hit run, it will create another column which will be a sales imputation flag 01, where 1 will mean that the null values were present in that particular field, right? For example, the second row, fourth row, and seventh row, and so on. Whereas 0 indicates that the number were not null, right? Coming to the next option, you can also, instead of replacing the median or average value in the same sales column, you can also generate another sales column without impacting the input sales column. For that you have to check this option, input output imputed values as a separate field. Once you hit the run button, it will create one more column in your dataset, right? So if you can see here, your sales number is as it was in the input dataset. It has created one column which is sales indicator. 1 indicates the presence of null value in the raw data. 0 indicates absence of null values. And the sales imputed value is again, there's another column called sales imputed values, which will, show the updated column with the imputed values. We will learn how to export, Excel files. Can be one file, can be more than one file. So in order to do that, I'm using a file called sales data. Consists of variables called date, sales rep, customer, product code, sales amount, right? And it consists of duplicate records. So currently there are 49 records. So that is why I've used Unique Tool, right? Now I want to remove the duplicates from this particular file, and then export the unique file, unique record, as well as the duplicated record to a folder on my system. Just hit run button for now, and let us see what is the output. So if you go to U, which is output of a unique tool, there are 30 unique records out of 49, and if you go to D, which is duplicate, there are 19 records. Now I want to export both these uh, records of unique as well as duplicated records to a folder present on my system. So in order to do that, go to in and out, select the output data, drag it and drop it onto a canvas, link it with U, right? And again take one more output data, drag it and drop it onto a canvas and link it with D, right? So because we need two output, one for unique and one for duplicated, that is why I've used two output data tool. So once you click on this output data tool, it will open a pop-up window where it will ask about the path, right? Path to write the file. Just click on this drop down. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about the file, right? Or the path. Go to file. Now click on select file. It will open a pop-up window, and then here you can write the name of the file, say, and you can also choose the folder. Suppose I want to write it in a folder called unique records. Write the name of file here, say unique sales data, right? Make sure the file type is correct here. Click on save. It will open one more pop-up window where it will ask you about the sheet which you want to export the data. So right now I want to export in sheet 1. You can rename it as data or anything else. You can select the range as well from here and then click OK. Then it will show you some of the options right in the configuration panel. Just scroll a little bit to the right and let's see what are different options available here. So first it will ask you about the file type, which is XLSX. Do you want to create new sheet or write an existing sheet, overwrite an existing sheet? Do you want to append it to some existing sheet and so on? You can explore this. Right now I will choose overwrite file or remove. So whenever this workflow will run, it will overwrite the exported file again and again, right? If you do not choose this option and if you keep on running this workflow, it will throw an error. So on a safer side, if you want to replace that file or choose this override option, then go here, select the second file for duplicate records. Again, do the same process. Click on drop down, select a file, go to the same folder, right here, duplicated sales data, click save. It will again open that pop-up window to write the sheet name and range. Click OK. It will open the configuration panel and again here it will ask create new, overwrite file, overwrite sheet and append sheet. So here I will choose overwrite file. Click here, click on the overwrite file and then hit run button. It will export both the files to your folder. Right. So this is done. How to calculate Spearman's rank correlation in Alteryx. In order to calculate Spearman's rank correlation, we will first import the dataset. Right now I'm using a dataset which consists of two columns. One is years of teaching, one is average income based on years of teaching. Now here I want to understand what is the correlation uh, for say all the individuals whose years of teaching is greater than 10 and for those whom it is less than equal to 10, right? I want to understand what is the correlation between years of teaching and average income for these two groups. So the first step is to import the data like I did here using the input data from in and out panel. Now next step is to create a group variable which will distinguish whether years of teaching is greater than 10 or is less than equal to 10. For that, just drag and drop the formula tool from the preparation tab and link it to your input data, right? Here you will first have to write the name of your input, name of your variable which you want to use as a group. So say years of teaching group. Now here you have to write the formula. If years of teaching is less than equal to 10, then 0, else 1, and if, and then you can assign the integer, float, and so on here, right? Right now I'm using it as an integer. Now go to the data investigation tab from the above, right? From here, go to the Spearman's correlation, drag it and drop it to your canvas, right? Link it to the formula tool. Once you do that, it will open a configuration panel where it will ask you about the two variables on the basis of which you want to calculate the correlation. So from here you choose years of teaching, from here you choose average income, and you can do it vice versa, right? Now go to the group by option. So this is optional. If If you want to calculate the correlation by group, then you can choose a group variable. Otherwise, you can leave this empty, and you make sure you enable this box here, right? Once you run this particular command in the result panel, it will show you the result panel. It will show you the correlation of two groups: group 0, which is the group of years of teaching less than equal to 10, and group 1, which is group having years of teaching greater than 10, right? The correlation coefficient is 0.6 for group 0 and 0.59 for group 1. So you can see that the correlation between the two groups is not that different. They are similar, right? So only difference between Spearman's correlation, Pearson correlation is that Pearson correlation measures the linear relationship, whereas Spearman rank correlation can measure monotonic relationships like logarithmic form, quadratic form, and so on. How to use linear regression in Alteryx. So let me just tell you the dataset which I am using. I'm using a dataset which consists of prices of different properties and how prices of that property is impacted by different variables like number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, square feet area of that particular flat, and so on. So here our dependent variable is price and independent variables are beds, which is the number of uh, beds, the bedrooms. Bath is the number of bathrooms. Square feet is the square feet of that particular flat. How these three variables impact price of a property, right? So in order to run a linear regression analysis, go to predictive tab. Yeah, go to predictive tab. From here, choose linear regression, drag it and drop it on your canvas. Make sure it is linked to your variable. Once this is done, it will ask you for a configuration setting, your model name, right? So let's be linear regression, say output. Then you have to select the target variable, which is the dependent variable. Right now in our case, it's price. Then you have to select the predictor variables, which are the independent variables, or you can say explanatory variables. It's beds, baths, square feet. You can go here and customize. If you want to omit the constant or the intercept, you can check this button. Weighted least square, you can check this. Regularized regression, you can check this. Cross validation, where you can choose it. Here you can select the graph resolution of plots. So I'm not doing it right now. So now in order to view the graphs and tables, you have to use the browse tool. Go to in and out, drag this browse tool and link it to R, right? So one will give you the model result and link it to I as well, and one R will give you the model results and I will give you the model performance like R square and so on, whereas R output will give you the significance of individual variables, their coefficients, and so on. Let's just hit run. This will take some time to run, around 40-50 seconds. So you can see this processing right now 21%. So once this is done, your plots and coefficients, their significance, everything will be present in the browse tool. So whenever you want to browse anything like output of particular or any tool in Alteryx, you can use the browse tool for viewing any charts, viewing any tables. 55 seconds to run this. Let's go to R out. our output. So let's just wait. This is how it shows the output. So here is the formula of linear regression. Price is your dependent variable and these are your independent variables. Here is the residual statistics, then coefficients like intercept. You can find intercept and bets, which is statistically insignificant because p-value is less than 0.05. Path is significant because p-value is less than bets is insignificant because p-value is greater than 0.05. Paths is significant because p-value is less than 0.05. You can also see stars here whose description is present here, right? Square fit again is insignificant as p-value is greater than 0.05. And here you can find other, metrics like r square, f stat 6, adjust r square, and so on, right? So let's go to the second browse tool. Here it will show you again the model performance statistics. It takes some time to update this particular tab. So here you can find the R square, just R square, mean absolute error, percentage error, mean squared error, root mean square, F stat 6, and so on. I hope you like this video and you are able to understood the concept and how to use the linear regression tool. Please use the select tool in Alteryx. Select tool is basically used to select some of the column from your input data set. Select tool is also used to define the length of the variables present in your dataset as well as to rename the variables present in your dataset as per your requirement. Let me just quickly show you the dataset I am using. So I am using a store transaction dataset which consists of variables like purchase date, order ID, customer ID, store city, store region, sales amount, and units. Right. So in order to use the select tool, go to the preparation tab, select, drag and drop the select tool from here. Make sure this is linked to your input data set. It will open up configuration panel. In configuration panel, it will ask you about the variables you want to select and all, as well as you can change the and type size, and you can also rename the variable if you want. So right now, since order ID is a unique identifier for each order, I am not interested in selecting the purchase date. So I will uncheck this. I will uncheck this unknown column. So I want this order ID, customer ID, store city, store region, sales amount, and sales unit as the final variables present in my final data set. Now, it also gives me the option to choose the variables as well as variable type. So in variable type, you can click the drop down menu, right? And then from here you can select the type of variable which you want to select. For example, for customer ID, I don't want VW string. I want V string, which is a variable string, and size of this is not required to be 255. The optimal size would be something around 25 or 50. So let it be 50. Similarly, I will change the store city to V string, again size to 50 because this 255 is not the optimal size. Store region is also a string, so I will again choose V string, and from here I can select the size to 50 again. For sales amount and unit, you can choose other options as well, but right now let it be double. If you scroll a little bit right, here it is giving you the option to write the new name of the variables, right? So instead of say sales amount, I want to write it as sales in dollar, and for units let it be num items sold. Right now, once I hit this run button, right, it will run the workflow and will select only those records checked in the configuration panel, and it will make the changes accordingly. Right, if I click on the output of this select tool, you can see that your first column is now order ID, second is customer ID, third is store city, fourth is store region, then sales in dollar, and number of items sold. So if you can carefully observe, your variable name is also changed. Variable name is also changed, and you know your size has also been changed to the required size. Let me just zoom it a little bit, and if I go to metadata, you can see that the customer ID has been changed to variable string, store city is changed to variable string and 50 size, store region is selected to variable string and 50 size, right? So this is an alternative of the autofill tool, right? So if you go to my video on autofill tool, autofill tool is also used to change the variable type and size. You can do that using the select tool, as well as you can use select tool to select the records as well as to rename the record. So you can use select tool in 4 different ways, or for to serve 4 different purposes. I will tell you how to add a comment container in your Alteryx workflow. So go to the documentation tab, and here it has a add-in, or you can say option to of comment. You just need to drag and drop this in the Alteryx workflow panel, and now it will ask you about the text which you want to write. Suppose I want to write my first Alteryx workflow, right? And from here I can choose different options like what are different shapes available for this comment container. I can choose rounded, rectangle, ellipse, and so on, right? And other options available is the text color. So from here you can choose different text color. Right now it's black. Background color you can choose from here. Then there is text alignment. Where do you want to align your text? It's top, center. Suppose I want to do it to top left, right? And here you can import some background images if you want by clicking this window, and then you have to assign a image as a background image to this container, right? Once you are done with this, just hit run and it will make the changes. For example, this container is now changed, and the alignment of the text box is now aligned to the left, right? Just in case this comment container is not present under the documentation tab, what you can do, just hit this add or remove tool button. It will open up the configuration tool palette, from where you can choose the documentation bits. So for example, this is not checked, you just need to check it here, right, and then click OK, and then it will show it as one of the tab in your Alteryx workflow. We will learn how to use the RegEx tool or the regular expression tool in Alteryx. So regular expression is generally used to search for pattern in your document, or search or extract that pattern to you to a additional column or to say a new column in your data set. So right now I'm using a data set which consists of 7 rows, right? And it is some text, but if you carefully observe, each row has a unique thing present in it. It consists of ID, and then there's digit after that ID. This is say some ID or something, right? So I want to extract this particular ID into a new column, right? And in order to do that, we will use the regex function. So in order to use the regex function, go to parse, drag this regex function and drop it onto a canvas. It will open a configuration panel where it will ask you about several options. First is the column name to parse. So since our column name is document, so I will select document here. Now next, what is the type of regular expression do you want to choose, right? So from this plus button, you can select different types of regular expressions, right? So for example, for digit is /d, for uppercase /i, for /u, for lowercase /i, and so on. In order to extract the entire words, it's this one. And now in order to separate a particular, column to say some other column, there is a mark group present. So you click here. You have to write your regular expression inside this. So first pattern is your ID, and then there is numbers, right? How many numbers? There are 3 numbers. There can be n numbers, right? So in square bracket, you have to mention 0 to 9. So this will show you the numbers. So numbers are from 0 to 9, and since there are more than one number, right? There are 3 numbers. You can just use this asterisk. So this will give you a pattern that after ID there is a digit, right? And that digit is can be one, two, or many. So it will extract based on this particular pattern. Once you do this, so from here you can select whether it is case sensitive or insensitive. I will choose here it's case sensitive, right? Next, go to this output method, choose parse from here because I want to parse it right now. Next, it will show you the output column which you want to keep. Right now I want to keep it as a ID. You can choose the type of that output column. So let it be string, and size can be anything whichever you want to choose. Right now it's 14, right? And here it is also showing you the expression. Once you click run button, it will extract that ID into another column called, and it will show you the output in ID column. So if you carefully see, this ID column is extracted from here and is present in a new column called ID, right? If you choose replace option, it will replace it. So on safer side, create another column. If you observe that there is null present in the 7th row because there is no ID pattern present in this particular row. I hope you like this video. So first tool, which is very important from a presentation point of view, is the table tool. So for table tool, you have to go to reporting tab, and from here you have to select table tool. Yeah, so table, drag it and drop it onto your canvas. It will open up a configuration panel. But before that, let me show you the dataset which I am using. Right, so I'm using a sales data of 5 different companies, and it's a daily data. So you can see that here 4 columns. One is order ID, company name, sales, and date. right? Now click on the basic table tool and will open a configuration panel where it will ask you about different options, like for example first option is your group by. For in group by your table mode, do you want to group by company, group by date, order ID, and so on. Right now I do want to change this, and you can explore this um, your own, right? You can choose the table width. Suppose let it be automatic. So this Alteryx will basically automatically decide the width of the columns, right? Here you can choose the bar graph option. So it will create a column where it will show you the bar graph of that particular value. So this is just similar to the conditional formatting of bar done in Excel. From here, show column headings. From here you can uh, move the column names up and down, rearrange the column as per your convenience, right? For example, suppose I want to move date as the first column, so I will just press this up arrow key, then order ID, then company name, and then sales. I can rename my fields here, right? And there's a couple of other options. Now my interest is to create a table and then apply some sort of formatting on that particular entry which I want to highlight. So go to this create row rule. Once you click on this, a pop-up window will open. Right here, you can write the name of the rules. So right, I'm giving it as sales rule, say 1, or sales rule greater than 25,000. So I will want to highlight all the rows where the sales is greater than 25,000. When to apply, click on when, where. From here, drop down, select the metric or variable name, which is sales. Here you can select the operator like greater than, and here you have to input the number, which is say 25,000. Now from the lower panel, you can select the background color. Click on background, and then background I want say green color as the row background, and in text color say I want black, right? Just click on close and then run the workflow. It will table, but in order to create table, you can see here it is asking you to attach a browsing tool. So go to in and out. These reporting tools will only work with a browse tool. So just drag and drop and connect this to a browse tool and hit run again. And once you click on the browse tool, it will open the table like this. So this is record 1 for it. These are records, and all the rows where sales is greater than 25,000 has been highlighted in green color. And you can play around with the multiple option present in the table tool. How to use union tool in Alteryx. So union tool is basically used to append two files together. By append I mean in order to merge two files together, one below the other. Example, your first file consists of say 100 records and has the same column as the second file. And your second file again consists of 100 records, and you want to append those files together, one below the other, and the final file will consist of 200 records, right? So in order to do that, let me just tell you first the details for two files I am using. First file is the sales data of month November. So it consists of transaction amount, date, department, cashier, store zip, store city, store region, right? and the second data set is the sales data for December month, and it consists of same variables but in a different order. So if you carefully observe in the second file, the date is the first column and transaction amount is the second column, whereas in the first file transaction amount was the first column and date was the second column, and then your department, cashier, store zip, store city and store region, right? And now in order to append these files together one below the other, there are options in Union Tool. Let me just drag and drop this Union Tool here. So under Join tab, you will find Union. Just drag and drop it on your canvas, right? And then just join this node of input to the input node of your Union Tool. Done for data 1, again done for data 2, right? So once you do that, you join the inputs to the input node of Union Tool, it will give you certain options. So if you just click on this drop down, so auto configure by name, so it will append the data very smartly by considering the name of the variables present in the file. Second option is auto configure by position. So by position it will mean that first column of data 1 will be appended or added to the first column of data 2, right? So this is very risky. Do it only when you are sure that the variable name present in table 1 and table 2 are in the same order, right? And third is your manual configure field, so where you can manually configure the options. The next property is about the warning. So if it throws an error, what should Alteryx do? Should it stop processing the record, give you a warning, or ignore the warning and continue? So right now I'm just choosing warning and continue processing the record. The next drop down is regarding, do you want output all field or do you want only common subset of field? Output all field will give you all the columns irrespective of whether it is present in table 1 or table 2, whereas common subset of field will give you only the common columns present in both the files. So right now I'm choosing all file. Here in output order you can specify the order in which you want the specific output, like 1 hash 2, so hash 1 hash 2. So hash 1 is the first table will be at the top and then second table will be appended below the table 1. So you can reverse it order by checking this and you can change it here. Right now I'm not doing it. Once you hit this run button, it will import the files and then do a union of these two files. So your first file, okay, this is done. So your first file consists of 462 records and your second file consists of 350 records. So in all, when you append these files, the final file will consist of 812 records. Let's see the output. So if you carefully see, the final file now consists of 812 records and the order of the file is now same as the first file, right? And the numbers are appended one below the other. How to use the transpose tool in Alteryx? So generally you have two types of data sets. One is a wider data set consisting of many columns but less rows. Another is a long data set consisting of small number of columns but a huge number of rows, right? So let me just quickly show you the file which I am using. The file consists of uh, monthly revenue for a store location and department. So first column is your store location, which is Dublin. Second is your department, audio and hi-fi. And from third till the last, there are months, right? And the entries present inside these columns are basically the monthly revenue for each month, right? Now I want to convert this particular data set, which is a wider data set, into a long data set. So the final data set will consist of four columns. First will be a store location, second will be a department, third will be the name of the months or the column consisting of name of the months like Jan, Feb, March, and so on till December. And the fourth column will consist of the values of the monthly revenue, right? So this is how I want my data to be structured. So in order to do that, I will go to transform tab. From transform tab, drag and drop this transpose tool onto your canvas, link this input data to the input node of the transpose tool, right? Once you link this, click on the transpose tool. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you about the key and data columns. So key columns are basically the level at which you want to see the data, or the level at which you want to transpose the data. So right now we want the combination of store location and department as key, right? And in the data column you have to choose the data which you want to transpose from multiple rows to one row, sorry, from multiple columns to one column, right? So this will be our third column in the uh, final data set, which will consist of the months, and fourth column will consist of the month values of monthly revenue, right? So once you hit run button, it will run the workflow and will transpose your data into a longer data set from a wider format. So if you carefully observe this particular table in the result panel, you can see that the first column is your store location, second column is your department, third column is again the name of the months, and fourth column is the value, which is monthly revenue for each store department combination, right? So for each store department combination you will have 12 records now, each consisting of monthly revenue from Jan to December. So if you go down to the 13th record, right? So 13th record is Dublin home theater January and its monthly revenue. Then next is February is monthly revenue for the same store location and department combination. And if you go down to the 25th row, again your department changes for the same store location, and then you will have 12 months, and for each month you will have the monthly revenue. You can rename these columns to month and monthly revenue. So we will cover this in rename session. So how to use the multiple join tool. So let me first tell you what is the difference between join and join multiple option in Alteryx. So in join you can merge or join two tables or datasets, whereas in join multiple you can merge or join two or more than two tables, right? So in order to join multiple, I have three files. One is employee file, one is store transaction file, one is store club member. So employee file consists of employee ID and club card ID. Store transaction consists of multiple columns like purchases, order amount, customer ID, store city, store region, and so on. And store club card members consist of customer ID, name, their email ID, phone number, member status, etc. So now I want to join these three files into one dataset. So in order to do that, I will just drag and drop this join multiple option in my tool container, right? And I will then do a joining of these inputs to this join multiple. So you just need to drag this arrow and drop it to this input arrow. So here there are three inputs which are tagged to the same node, but you can see that it has given a number to each input. So number one, number two, and number three, right? It is in uh, the way you connected these files to the input node of the join multiple, right? So once you do that, you will get a window like this. So one is your join by record position. Again, this will do a join of row, join of tables as per the row index. This is not the ideal way to do it, whereas we will do join by specific field. So in input one stands for your dataset one. Here your ID is customer ID. Input 2, input 2 is your table 2. Table 2 you can select it from here. So that customer ID is same as club card ID in this table 2, right? And in table 3 or input 3, ID is the name of the customer ID. So in three tables, the customer ID is same, like the number length of the customer ID is same, but the names are different, right? Customer ID, club ID, and ID in third. Now here you will see that it will give you option, right? That which fields are present in which table, input 1, input 2, input 3, and so on. So if you don't do anything here, right, and just run the workflow, it will give you an output, but it will consist of many null values, as some of the entries are not present in the all the tables, right? So if you do this a little bit, you can see that it will consist of null values. So right now it is not displaying the null values, right? Yeah, so you can see that it will display null values wherever data is not present. So in order to get the common records where all the data is present, for that I mean that the customer ID is present in all the tables. So for that you just need to click this button here, right? You have to check this button, only output records that match that join from all inputs, that this will do a inner join the same way we did in the join tool. Just hit run and it will do an inner join and your output will be printed here. There are 15 records which have the common customer ID present in all the tables. How to use unique tool in Alteryx. Unique tool is basically used to remove the duplicate observations from the dataset. Let me quickly show you the dataset which I am using. I am using the e-sales dataset. It consists of columns like date, sales representative, customer name, product code, and sales. Now I want to check check whether there are duplicates present in this particular dataset, and if present, then I want to remove those duplicates and create my own unduplicated dataset or deduplicated dataset. right? So in order to do that, go to Preparation tab, select the Unique tool, drag and drop this to your canvas. Once you drag and drop it onto your canvas, it will open a configuration panel where it will ask you to select the columns from using which you want to remove the duplicates from the data set. Right now you want to remove the data duplicates from the data, from the entire data consisting of all the records, right? So just click select all. Alternatively, if you want to remove the duplicates by a particular ID, then you can check and uncheck from here. Once you select this, just click run button. It will run the workflow, right? So there were 49 records present in this particular file, 30 were unique and 19 were duplicates. So how to find out the unique record? So at the end of this unique tool, you will find two options. One is U, which is stands for unique. If you click here, you will see the 30 records which are not duplicate, which are unique, and D here stands for duplicated records. If you click here, you will get 19 records. So this is similar to proc sort option in SAS, where you can provide options like dupe out by all, right? And you can also write the the unique data set as well as the duplicated data set using the dupe out option and no dupe option. How to use the summarize tool in Alteryx. The summarize tool is generally used to aggregate your data at different levels. Suppose there are different stores, and in each store there are different categories present, and for each category there is a sales amount. Now you want to aggregate the sales data at a store level instead of store category level. So in order to do that, you will use summarize function. Summarize tool again consists of multiple options like count, maximum, minimum, average, sum, and so on. Let me just quickly show you the dataset which I am using. I am using a sales data which consists of dates, sales rep stands for sales executive, customer name, product code which customer bought, and the sales amount, right? So in order to use the summarize function, go to transform tab, drag and drop the summarize tool onto your canvas. It will open a pop-up window where it will ask you to choose the field which you want to summarize. So right now I want to summarize sales. Click on sales. This will show you an arrow. Go to this action drop down, add, choose the aggregation which you want to do. Right now I want to do the sum of sales. Choose sum. It will give you an entry in this box, right? So now you can here also change the name of the output column. Let it be aggregated sales by sales rep. Okay. Now if you want to add different levels, right? Now, so in order to add different level, right now I want to group this data or aggregate this data for each sales rep, right? Click on sales rep in the above box, right? It will show you an arrow. Again, repeat the same step. Come to action, click on drop down, select group by. Group by is basically used to find out the ID at which you want to aggregate your sales data. Sales rep, group by sales rep, and this is done. Once you click run, it will run the workflow, and then it will show you the output. So for example, it is showing that Chin has made a sales of 1,01,600 in year 2018, right? Similarly, Cherry has made a sales of 1,26,800 for the 2018 year. So you can also change the the position of these two variables by just clicking this arrow key, right? So and then again hit enter. This will bring the sales rep column in the beginning and the amount in the end. As you can see here, the sales rep column or sales executive column is at the beginning, first column, and aggregated sales by sales rep is the second column. How to use the formula tool? Formula tool is generally used to create a derived, variable using a data set. Suppose I want to calculate, profit of a particular category of a, say, supermarket. So in order to calculate the profit of a category of a supermarket, what I can do, I can just simply, subtract cost from the sales amount and can get the profit, right? So how to write that formula into, Alteryx? Let me show you the dataset which I am using. I am using a dataset which consists of three columns. One is month, next is your previous year sales number, and third is your current year sales number. And I want to understand what is the percentage change in monthly sales. So in order to do that, just go to the preparation tab, select the formula tool from here, drag it and drop it onto your canvas. Please make sure this is connected to your input dataset. It will open a configuration panel where it will ask you several options. First is whether you want to create a new column or want to replace the value in the existing columns. So here I want to create a new column. So click add a column, write the name of the column which you want to create. So I want to create a percentage change column, right? And then here you can write the expression. So just write the name of the column. So if you can remember, the name of the column was current. So once you write some of the letters of your variable, recommendation will open. Just click here, or you can also press tab, then write the expression is minus, then the next variable was previous year, right? So select the previous year sales, put this in bracket, because current minus previous divided by previous will give you the percentage change of this year's sales as compared to the previous year, right? And this will give you a decimal number. So I want to convert it into percentages. So I will multiply this difference of current year minus previous year into 100, and this whole divided by the previous year number, right? So just again type here previous, and this will give you a recommendation to select the previous year sales. You can either press tab or just click on previous year sales. This will create a formula. From here you can choose the data type, whether you want it as a string, boolean, integer, fixed, decimal, float. So right now I will choose float, right? Float will give me decimal numbers as well, to 5 and 6 decimal places. And once I hit the run button, it will create a column called per change, and will show the percentage change. If I just click the output node of formula tool, it has created one column at the end, which is percentage change. It has given us the percentage number. So as compared to previous year, this year sales has reduced by 14.49%. For month 2, it has reduced by 12%. for month 4, which is April, you can see that it has increased by 68%, right? So other options are also available in this. So suppose you want to, create one more formula. In order to create one more formula, you can just click this add button, write a formula here, similar to the one which we have written, in the above. You can also add one more. And suppose you do not want to, use this particular slot to write the formula, just click the delete button here. It will remove this, and again it will remove this. There are also some inbuilt options available, like you can click here, you can select different functions like floor, mod, return, conditionals, like to write if else then, and so on. You can select a date time function, some mathematical functions like absolute, cost, ceiling, log, etc. So you can explore these things, right? So I hope you like this video and you are able to understand the logic behind the formula tool.
Please like, share, and comment. And don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel.